Good day everyone, my name is Alkali Shepard. Today I'll be designing a very interactive and dynamic dashboard. The data I'll be making use of to achieve our goal is gotten from a particular company which is a dealer in the manufacturing and distribution of drinks. The data is actually of 6 different products and in 5 different countries where these products are actually created and distributed. Many times the videos I've come across which involves the development of dashboard ignore the connection between slicers and the charts they control. I'll carefully be dissecting that so everyone can understand what is happening. Alright then, so all that being said, let us jump into the development of our dashboard. So this is my information, or this is the raw data I'll be making use of. Now, what I'll do next is create 2 different sheets for the dashboard, and for the pivot tables I'll be controlling the charts and the dashboard. So I'll quickly create 2 other sheets. I'll call the first one dashboard, then I'll call the second one pivots. So I'll be naming my table. So I come to table design, then you can see at the far left, you can see this kind of search box. Just quickly type out the name of the table. So I'll just call this transaction, then I enter. My table now has a name. So out of this table, I'll be creating a pivot table. So I come to insert. You come to the insert tab on your ribbon. Then you come to the far left, you can see pivot table. So you click on it, then pick the from table stroke range option. Now when you click on this, you can see what we have. So you can see at the very top here, the name of my table is appearing. So by default, Excel is going to give your table table 1 if you didn't name it. But if you actually want to name your table, you can always access the table design and give it a name. Most times I advise people do that. So for where I want my pivot table to be, I'll be using the existing worksheet. So I check on this, I click on this, then I select the location I want it to be. So I come to my pivots. This is where I want my pivot tables to come out. So I just pick any range I want my pivot table to be on. So it can be 3 cells, it can be 2 cells, just depends on how you want it. So on doing this, I come back, then I pick OK. So you can see I have created a pivot table. I'll proceed with the development of the dashboard. So I come back to the dashboard sheet, and this is what we have. All right then, so I'll begin with the header. I think that is the first thing we have in the previous project. So I'll come to insert, then I'll insert a shape. I actually use the shape for the header. I use the rectangular shape. So I just come to insert, then I come to shapes, then I'll be picking a rectangle. That's what I need. So there's actually a particular height and width I'll be using for the header. So just observe what I'll be using. Come to your shape format, then at the far right there is a shape width and height. There are options where you can actually edit the shape and height of whatever shape you are drawing on the surface. So I'll be changing this. So for the height, I want a height of, then for the width, so you can see what we have, right? So I can just adjust this. Good. So I can just change the color. I come home, I'll be giving it a kind of dark color. Okay, let's just stick to this blue gray text to darker 50%. So I tap on this and you can see what we have. All right, so the next thing I'll be doing is I'll be inserting the text. If you remember on the project that we're replicating, there is a key performance indicator text here and the name of the company at the far right with the logo. So I use text boxes for those texts. So I'll just come to insert, then I'll bring out the text box. So at the far right here, you can see this icon. So you just click on this, then you can see a text box. Then you click on this also. Then you can drag on the surface. Good. So for this text box, there's also a particular height and width. So you just come to shape format, then you edit that. So I'll be making use of a height of, then for the width. Good. So this is what I have. Then I can just, good. So you quickly just type out the text. So the size I'll be making use of, the font size should be 24. All right, 24. Then for the font style, I'll be making use of, okay, this is good to go. So I'll quickly just change the color, but before that I'll be taking out the outline. I don't like the outline the text box has. So I come to shape format, then for the outline I'll be picking no outline. For the color, I'll make it match with the fill for the heading. So I come home, then I pick the same fill for it. Then for the text itself, it should be having a white color, and this is what we have. So So this area here is where we're going to be inserting the company's title and also the logo for the company. So let me quickly import the logo for the company. So I come to insert, then I come to pictures, then I come to this device. Good. This is what we have. So I'll just edit the size. So you can see we have picture format. So at the far right here, you can also see options on how you can edit the height and width. So the height for the picture is, and this is what we need. So I just, okay. So I quickly insert another text box. Let me edit this outside. So this is forefront. I don't think I want an outline for this text box. So I'll be picking the no outline. Yes, I'll be giving it the same color as the background of the heading. Then the text itself should be white. All right, so I think this is actually good. Then I can bring this to the, this is okay. I can just reduce this size so we can have a clearer view. Okay, so you can see how this looks now. All right then, so the next thing I'll be doing is the slicers. All right, so let me create my slicers. So I'll be coming back to the pivots. Yes, so you can see I have a pivot table field list at the right here, but in a situation whereby you don't, or yours is not appearing, just click in the area where you can see this pivot table one stuff. Click in this area, the pivot table field list normally comes out, or you can still come to your pivot table analyze tab and pick it from here so you can see. So this is just the ways you can bring out your field list. All right then, so let me quickly create a slicer out of the country and the product. So this is the country we have. So I right click on the country, then I add a slicer. Okay, so the same thing I'll be doing for the product. I right click on it, then I add a slicer. These are the two parameters we'll be creating a slicer out of. So quickly I'll modify the settings. So I want them horizontal. So you see the slicer tab, I click on it. Then for the column, we have about 5 countries, so I want the columns to be 5. Good. So it is now looking horizontal, so I can just adjust this. Then for the headers, I don't really want the headers we are seeing, so I right click, then I come to slicer settings. So you can see this display header, I uncheck it. For this, I will say hide items with no data, then I okay. The same settings apply to this. I'll be giving it a height of about, good. The same thing applies to the slicer for the countries. The height becomes, then the width becomes, then I enter. Good. So I'll just cut this slicers to the dashboard. All right, so I just come to slicer here. Then let me align them. So I'll align bottom. So let me just group. So I group them together. So I group like this. All right, so I just right click on them, then I send them to the back. Good. So you send to the back so the key performance indicator can be conspicuous enough. Let me just adjust them to the, all right, then I think this is good. But there's something I'll need to add. There is kind of a shape I added. If you observe the projects we're replicating, there's kind of a blue line. So I'll be adding the blue line. It is actually a shape. So I just come to insert, then I come to shapes, then I pick that also. So I just, good. So I can just right click on this, then I send to the back. But you can actually do this before you insert your slicers, or if you want to do it properly, just take your slicers out, then insert it. That's all you have to do. Good. So I think this is okay. So now the next thing I'll be doing is I'll be changing the background. So I want the background, that is this area, to have a different color, not to be plain white like this. So I just Control A, then I come to my fill. So I'll be making use of this blue gray text to lighter 60%. So I just pick this and you can see. So the next thing I'll be doing is I'll be creating my charts. So just pay close attention and see how we create all these charts and how we connect the pivot tables, or how we connect the slicers to this particular charts. All right, so before we proceed to creating the charts, I want to modify the style of the slicers we have. So I just click on one of the slicers in the group, then I come to the slicer in the ribbon. So you can see we have different styles we can apply to our slicers, but I want us to create one for ourselves. So you can see this arrow kind of pointing downwards. I click on this, then I come to new slicer style. I click on this also. So the first thing we'll be editing is the whole slicer. So when you click on the whole slicer, then come to format. Good. So the fill I want is something dark blue. We'll be making use of this one. So I click on this. Then for the font, we'll be giving it a white font. By default, it is set to automatic, which is black most times. So I just give it white as the fill. Good. Then I OK. So for a selected item with data, click on this, then you format it. So when the item has data and it is selected, how do I want it to appear? So I come to fill. I want it to be white. Then for the font, I want it to be dark blue, then OK. So for an unselected item with data, let us format it also. So when it is unselected but has data, how do I want it to appear? So I want it to have a dark blue background, but for the font, I want it to be white. Then we OK this, then we OK like this, and that is all. So I just then take this up. You'll be able to see the modification we've made. Then I click on this, you can see it has changed. So apply the same modification to the other slicer, and this is what we have. Every chart you saw in this dashboard during the introduction was actually created and placed on a particular shape. So what I'll quickly do is I'll create every segment of this dashboard using those shapes before we start placing this charts on them. So I mostly use the rectangular shape with rounded corners. So if I just come to shapes here, you can see the rectangle with rounded corners. So I just pick this. I think we have about seven shapes. We have about 7 shapes. So I just drag one, then I duplicate about 7 times. Control C, about 6 times. So okay, you can delete just this one. All right then. So I'll be giving this. I'll be taking out the shape outline. I would have done that before I duplicated, but notwithstanding. So I'll just take out the outline for this. Then I'll be giving it a shape of I'll be giving it a height of and a width of. Good. So I just give this a height of 2.55 also. For this one, I'll be giving it a height of about. Good. And this is what we have. I'll just delete these ones. Then I duplicate this guy. Good. So I'll quickly add a shadow to every shape you can see here. I'll give them a background fill. This is the background fill I'll be giving them. I actually use the hex code, so I just come to fill, then I come to more colors. All right, then, so we have something like this. Good. Now I'll start inserting my charts. All right, then. So the very first chart we'll be creating is a pie chart. Now, this pie chart will be showing us the percentage profit a single product accounts for out of 100 in the 5 countries, right? So there is no much complexity. Let's quickly dive into that. So I come to my pivots. Good. So the first thing I'll be doing is I'll be bringing my country to rows. Then I'll locate my profit. Then I bring my profit to values, right? So actually, I want the percentages, not the values themselves. So what I'll do is I just come to any cell, then I right click, then I say show values as the percentage of the column total, right? So you can see the percentage a single product accounts for in every country. So out of 100. So I'll just quickly insert a pie chart. Good. And we have something like this. So I'll clear out all these keys. I don't want them. I come to pivot chart analyze. I take this out. All right, then. So I just control X. Then I come to my dashboard. Then I paste. Good. So this chart, I'll actually be changing the height and the width. So the height will be, then the width. Good. Then what I'll be doing is I'll have to reduce the roundness of the edges. So you can see this yellow circle. So you just drag this. Good. I'm actually trying to adjust the roundness of the edges so it can accommodate the background. So it can accommodate the chart. The chart background takes in the same color as the shape. So I just come here. Then I give it this one. And this is what we now have. Good. So I quickly just come here. Then I check data labels. I actually want the data labels. Then I come to more options. Then my more options, I'll pick category name. Then you can see the name of the countries is now appearing. Then I close this. All right, then. So I'm actually going to make the data labels bold. So I just click on them so it can be highlighted like this. Then I control B to make it bold. Then I'm also going to reduce the size. So I come back home. Then, okay, I think it's at 8. So just let it be at 8. Then you make it bold. Good. So now for the size of the chart, I'm actually going to adjust it a little. So you can see me dragging it. I actually want it larger to an extent. So I just, good. So this is what I have. And I think this is actually conspicuous enough. So for this, I can just, so you can actually group the chart and the shape itself. So let's do that. Good. The next chart we'll be creating is a line chart showing the trend of profits across all 4 quarters and 2 years. So how do we create this? We come to our pivots quickly and create a pivot table. So I'm going to be duplicating this one. Then I control V this. All right then. Good. So I'll be taking my countries out. Then I'll be bringing the date here. All right then. So I'll take out the date. I want the years by the quarters. So you can see we have about 3 years, not even 2 years. We have about 20. We have from 2020 to 2022. So then what I'm going to do is I'll be inserting a line chart. When I come to, you can see the line chart here. So I just click on this. So I'll come to this very one. This one says line with markers. This is the one I want. So I just click on this and we have something like this. So this is what I have. So I can just cut to this one and I bring to my dashboard. Then I paste like this. Good. This is what we have. Then I can just adjust. Now this takes this color, takes the indigo color I gave to the background. We still have it saved here, so I don't want the outline. Most times you're going to see an outline, a white outline like this, so I don't want it. So I come to the format. Then for the shape outline, I'll say no outline like this. Then for the axis, I'll give it white. Good. This is what we have. Then for the line itself, I'll just come to format. Then you can see this shape outline, right? Come here, then give it something that can be visible enough. I'll just pick this yellow like this, and that is that. And I also want the data labels. So I'll click the data labels, then I give it a color of white. I think this is good enough. Our next chart is a bar chart, and this bar chart will be showing the total cost of every product in a single country. So let us proceed with that. So I come to my pivots, then I'm going to duplicate this one. You can duplicate any of the pivot tables though, but I'll be duplicating the first one. Good. Then I bring out my field list. And keep this in mind, you can create as many pivot tables as possible, right? It just depends on how many information you're trying to represent in your dashboard, but you can make as many pivot tables as possible. It's always up to you. So for my country, I'll leave it like this. Then I'll bring my product below the country. Good. Then I'll take out the profit. I don't want the profit this time. We're talking about the cost. So I'm going to locate total cost. Then I drag to values. You can see I drag my total cost to values, and this is what we have. So out of this, I'll be creating a bar chart. Come to insert, then I come to this. Then you can see this clustered column. This is what you'll be clicking. This is good enough. So I'm going to cut this. Then I bring to my dashboard. Then I paste. I'll be closing this field list. So I'm going to clear this. We'll be making use of 2.36 as the height. Then for the width, we're making use of 6.7. This is going to be the width. So we can just drag this. And this is good enough. So I come home, then I'll be giving it the indigo background. So you can still see it is saved. So I just click that. Then for the format, I don't think I want an outline. So I'll take out the outline, and this is good enough. For the axis, that is the vertical and horizontal axis. And this is good enough. The next chart I'll be creating is a bar chart, and this bar chart is going to be representing the total profits of every product. So how do I create that? I come to my pivots quickly, then I'll be duplicating any of the pivot tables here. So I just copy this, then I paste. So I'll bring out my field list. This is good enough. So I'll take out my country because I'm in need of my products now. So I just put it here. So this is summarized as percentage. This is shown as percentages. So I'll be showing these values as no calculation. So out of this, I'll be creating a bar chart. So I come to 2D columns, then I'll be picking the clustered column. So I'll clear all these titles and even the keys. I don't need them. For these lines, I'll be deleting also. And in this scenario, I'll be taking out my secondary axis. I'll just cut this, then I come to dashboard, then I paste. I need more space. So the final informations I want to be representing on my dashboard are the total revenue, total cost, and total profits. I just want it to be in such a way that at a glance, anybody making use of this dashboard can just see the total cost, total profit, and the total revenue. So if you observe the project, you can see how these are represented. If I just click on this, right? So this is what I want. So those values are actually placed in a text box. So I'll just quickly come to insert, and this is enter, which is good enough. I have to design the pivot table which will be responsible for this. So I come back to pivots. So I'll just duplicate one of the pivot tables I have. Then I come to the ending, then I just paste here. Good. So I take everything out. So I'll be bringing the total cost, total revenue, and the profit. Good. So I'll name each of all these cells. So if you observe, you can see we have all their totals. So I'll be naming each of this cell. So for this first cell, I'll call it the total cost. You can see how I'm doing it. Total cost is what I'll call this very first cell. Then for the second cell, I'll be calling it total revenue. Then I enter. So I come back to dashboard. Then now I can call the very first cell I want to appear here. So let's say I want I want the value of the total cost here. So make sure you highlight the text box. Then you come to your formula bar. Then you use equal to. Then you can call the total cost. Good. You can see it here. So I just double click. Then I enter. Good. You can see the value is now appearing properly. So I'll quickly just duplicate this. The next value I'll be bringing is the total profit. So I just make sure I highlight the text box. Then I come here. Then I just do total revenue. Good. Then I enter. Then the last but not the least is the total revenue. Is the total profit rather. So I just good. Then I enter. Now we have these values. So I'll quickly just change the font style, the font size, and even the color for the text box. All right, so what is left for me to display on my dashboard is, so you can see this particular area, I'll be recreating this. So basically all I'm doing is I am disaggregating, or should I say I am breaking down this amounts into their different components. So all I am showing here is whatever amount this particular product accounts for from the total. So if this were to be the total cost, I'm actually showing the total amount Aquarius accounts for in the total cost. For the revenue, I'm actually showing the total amount Aquarius accounts for in the total revenue, and same applies to every other product you can see here. So let's quickly dive into creating this. So I'll quickly come to text box. I'll come to insert. Then I'll come to text. And I bring out the text box. Good. So just watch out what I'll be doing. So I just duplicate this. Good. So the next thing I'll be doing is, if you can observe, there are actually little boxes with certain colors at the adjacent to most of these products or to all of these products. So that is actually deliberate because later on we'll be matching those colors to these bars. So we'll make sure that whatever color we assign to our queries will be the same color we'll be giving to their bars. So just observe what I'll be doing. So I'll quickly just come to insert and pick a shape for that. I can just drag it something very little, and this is good enough. So I can just duplicate this 5 more times. So the first color I'll be giving to Aquarius is the orange color. Good. The color I'll be giving to Chivita is gray. So I come home, then I will give it a feel of gray. So you can just pick any of these ones, they should do. Pick the very last one here. There is a shape outline, I don't want that. So the color I'll be giving to Coca-Cola is green. So I come home, then I come to fill. So I just locate any green color, should be suitable. I just pick this one. I don't really want the outline because I believe there's an outline, so just take this out. So for Fanta, I'll be giving a blue color to it. So you can just, I think by default the color is blue, but let me just give it an ideal blue color. So I just pick this one. For Schweppes, I'll be giving a yellow color, but I'll take out the outline first of all. Then for Sprite, I'll be giving a purple color. So what I'll be showing next is the values. So I'll quickly go to my pivot and create a pivot table that will be responsible for displaying these values. So these pivot tables are going to be responsible for the values we'll be seeing on those shapes. So we're going to be using text boxes for those values. So instead of naming every cell here before we can now call them in our dashboard sheet, what I'll do is I'll be using a formula to create another table out of these ones. So this is not going to take much time. So what I'm just going to do is here I'll be using VLOOKUP. So first of all, I'll just copy this, then I'll paste as values. Good. Then I can just duplicate this. So the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want us to have to start naming every cell before we now go back to our dashboard and start calling those names. So it's best to just pull these informations. To me, I feel it's just best we pull these informations using a formula that is VLOOKUP. Then we can now reference those cells, right? So that's just the main thing to do. So I'll just use VLOOKUP here. Good. So after doing this, I just come back to my dashboard quickly. All right then. So I'll be creating a text box. So for this text box, I'll just come to equal to. But first things first, let me just duplicate this one. So I'll duplicate this like 6 times. So good. So I'll just duplicate this. Good. So this is the total cost. So we'll be referencing the values for the total cost. So just click on the first text box. Make sure you are clicking the first text box. Then you come to the formula bar. Then equal to. Then you come to your dashboard pivots. So this is the value for our queries for the total cost. So I just pick this. Then I enter. Right. So the same thing you do for the next one. Come to the formula bar equal to. Then come to your pivots. Then pick this. Then you keep going like that. The next one equal to, come to your pivots, then pick the value for Coca-Cola. Same for Fanta. Good. So this is for revenue. So I just equate. Then I come to my pivots. This is this is our extract from the revenues table. So we'll be referencing these values. Good. So we come for the profit. All right. So I want to make their fields transparent. So I just control one. So I'll take this to 100%. Good. Good. So this is what we have. So I think we're almost done. So what is left is we'll have to add the labels. We'll have to add the labels for every chart and everything you can see displayed here. Then I think subsequently we change the format of the values. All right, so I come to pivots. Then I'll be changing the formats for everything you can see here because these are monies and they're actually currencies. So I'll be changing the format of every pivot table here, and I'll quickly be naming all my pivot tables also. So I'll just come to this. So click any cell inside of the pivot table, then you right click, then come to value field settings, then come to number format. Good. Then you come to currency. Then you locate the Nigerian naira. But I think this is in dollars, so this is okay. So we'll just leave it as dollars. Then you okay. Good. Another shorter way of doing this is coming home. Then come to this. Can you see this area? Come here. Then you click this drop down. Then come to currency. But this is actually going to affect one cell. That's why it's always advisable you right click and come to value field settings. So you come to number format, then currency. Okay. Okay. You can see this affects the entire pivot table. You can change this to Naira or whatever currency your country is making use of. Good. So this is what we have. So when you come back to your dashboard, you can see everything is now represented as money. You can see the currencies are clearly displaying. So you can just adjust what you need to adjust. Good. I think this needs to be adjusted. Good. And this is now looking all right. So what is left is just the labels. So I'll quickly insert the labels. I come to insert, then I pick text, then text box. Good. So I'll drag on this one surface. Good. So I'll call this percentage profit. Good. So call this total cost. Call this one total revenue. We call this one total profit. Copy this. Then I good. So I'll be calling this the total cost. Good. Then I'll call this the quarterly profit. All right, so how do I connect my slicers to my charts? So basically, I'll be showing you how this is done. So let's say now I'll be connecting my product slicer to my quarterly profit line chart and to my percentage profit pie chart, right? So all I need to do is I just come to slicer. Make sure you've clicked on the slicer itself. You can see my product slicer is what is highlighted. So I come to slicer here. Then I come to report connections. Can you see this report connections? You click on this. So now you can see all the pivot tables that we have. Now, if you observe something, you can see the name of my pivot tables here are default names that were given to it by Excel. You can see you have pivot table 1, pivot table 2, pivot table 3. This is why they normally advise whenever you create pivot tables, you name it, because in a situation whereby you want to connect your slicers to your charts, you tend to see this kind of weird names without you understanding what is going on. So what our advice we do now is we should go back and name those pivot tables. I deliberately didn't name this pivot table so that you can see it for yourself. So this is why most times we advise that you name your pivot tables after you've created them when creating dashboards, because of this is going to come in handy around this area. So I cancel like this, then I come back to my pivot. So I'll quickly be naming all these pivot tables, right? So this first one, I come to pivot table analyze, and I come to pivot table here. So what do I call this? I'll call this percentage profit. So I'll be calling this percentage profit. Good. So when I come back to my dashboard, let's continue with our connection. So you come to slicer, then you come to report connections. So this is telling us that this is the name of our pivots, and in this particular sheet, so if you remember, the name of the sheet where we were creating all our pivot tables is called pivots. I want my product slicer to be connected to just the percentage profit chart and the quarterly profit chart. So you see, I'll have to uncheck every other. You can see this check boxes here. I'll have to uncheck everything. Good. So what did I just say? I want it to be connected to the percentage profit and to the quarterly profit. Then I okay. Now, if you see, when I click on this, observe, you can see the changes being made. You can see that only these two charts are connected to this particular slicer. There is nothing mysterious in doing this. So I want my country slicer to be connected to every other chart aside these two. So I just come to, so make sure you highlight your country slicer. Then you come to slicers here, then come to report connections. Good. So like I said, I want it to be connected to every other chart or every other thing except the percentage profit and the quarterly profit. So I'll take out the quarterly profit and the percentage profit like this. You can see I've unchecked them. Then I okay. Now when I click on South Africa, you can see the changes that have been made, right? You can see the changes that have been made. So this is just how we make these connections between slicers and charts. Note, not every slicer is expected to be connected to every chart. There are certain charts that when you connect your slicer to them, you tend to get kind of weird results. So it ends up not looking like what you expect it to be. Always know what slicer you want to be connected to a particular chart. Like I'll say again, not every slicer is expected to be connected to every chart. So you can see the changes. You can see how it is changing. Can see how dynamic it is. So the last thing I'll tell you is endeavor to color your bars. So these colors I give to each of those products is for a reason, because I want to use them to color these bars. So you can actually do that from wherever you are. So just locate the colors. You can see I allocated to every product and use it to color every bar here. Let me just give you an example. So if I click on Aquarius like this, make sure you select just Aquarius, then you come to home, then you locate the orange color. So you can see I can just come, okay, this should be orange. So you can see the color has changed. For Chivita, make sure you click only Chivita. For Chivita, I gave it a gray color. So I just come home, then I pick gray. Locate the color I located to it here, then give it that particular color. The same thing applies to the products profit chart, and we are good to go. So this is all we have for today. Subsequently, I'll be doing more videos to show you how to create dynamic and interactive dashboards. Thank you. I still remain Al Khali Shafad.